So good morning and welcome to everyone to this morning's webinar on the Organic Farming Scheme for 2022. Our aim today really is to maybe give you some information and the latest information, an update on the Organic Farming Scheme launched by Minister Pippa Hackett last week. And we can take any questions or queries you may have on the bottom link on the bottom of the web. So I suppose we're delighted today to be joined by Minister Pippa Hackett, and she'll have the opening word in relation to the Organic Farming Scheme and her thoughts on the scheme. We're also joined today by Seamus Byrne from the Department of Agriculture, who will discuss the terms and conditions of the scheme, and also by Joe Kelleher, who is the Teagasc organic specialist, and he'll be going through, the considerations you have to take on board when converting from conventional farming to organic, and that's from both a stock point of view, the land point of view, the housing, and looking at the markets as well. And then we're also joined by Marion Mulhall, my Teagasc colleague, who will be doing maybe just a survey when we're halfway through the webinar, just to get your thoughts and views on why maybe organic is an option for you. So we'd be delighted to take some questions and answers. And the bottom bar, a lot of you will be familiar with either Zoom or WebEx. Just in relation to you can put in the chat any questions or queries you may have, and we'd be delighted to take them. So keep them maybe coming in. So I'll just move on. So as I said, this is just the outline for this morning's webinar with Minister Pippa Hackett to give us the opening address. Seamus will run through then for 15 or 20 minutes the details, the terms and conditions of the scheme. And Joe Kelleher then will follow on with the farm considerations. And after that, then Marianne will just take a few questions that you may have. And we'd be delighted to take them, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them this morning for you and give you at least some degree of confidence as to the steps you have to take in the conversion process. So, Minister, I might maybe open it to you and welcome you to the meeting, and we're delighted to have you, and thanks very much for coming on board to maybe get your thoughts and views on the new organic scheme that you launched last week.
Thank you very much, Austin. And look, it's great to be here. I know this is the first of maybe 5 or 6 webinars that Teagasc will be hosting. They're going to be really comprehensive. And look, I'd encourage people, it's great to see so many on here, and there will be more. Teagasc also run a series of demonstration on-farm walks. And I think I can't encourage people enough to attend those walks, and indeed just chat to any organic farmers about the process and about what it's like to be an organic farmer. I was actually just reading this morning that in 2020 the EU organic market grew by 15%. It's worth about €44 billion. I mean, there's a market on our doorstep that's crying out for more produce. I don't know if any other sector of agriculture is growing at that rate, or the markets for them, certainly not maybe as close to home as the EU. So I think it's bright times ahead, and I think it might well you hear the term niche thrown around a bit about organics. I don't think €44 billion market is niche. Anyway, look, just delighted to open this meeting. This has been organised by Teagasc, Carlow, Wicklow, Wexford and Waterford, Kilkenny, and the first of a number of these, which will be really important to disseminate information to you. As you know, we have a really ambitious target to increase the area of land under organic production. Currently, the level is about 90,000 hectares, which is about 2% of our agricultural land here. And we want to get that to over 330,000 hectares by 2027. That's an equivalence of about 7.5%. So in that context, the organic farming scheme is going to be hugely important to support farmers, not only as they convert, but also as they remain organic farmers. It's an ongoing support. And I think that is to be welcomed. I think, if you speak to any long-term organic farmers, that support has been very, very useful to them. The scheme has opened last week. It's going to remain open until the 8th of April. So there's still another, 7 weeks, 6 or 7 weeks of that. So, do engage, get in there. There were some concerns maybe last year about the prioritization, and look, we didn't need to apply the prioritization last year because it wasn't oversubscribed, but so it's open to everyone. And I suppose that ranking and selection piece will only come into play if oversubscribed. So I can't encourage people enough to get involved. Obviously next year, we've secured further funds through the CAP budget to deliver even more places. I've made 2 changes to the scheme this year you may or may not be aware of. Firstly, the ceiling for the higher rate of payment has been raised from 60 hectares to 70 hectares. I suppose in recognition of the growing area farmed by many farmers full time, and indeed, larger area farms. I think that will hopefully encourage more people into the system. And certainly from speaking, finishers in particular, and from speaking with organic processors, there is about a 15% premium for both organic beef and lamb. So it's a really good, strong marketplace at the moment, and has been for years. I've also changed the stocking rate requirement for payment from 0.5 livestock units per hectare to 0.15. It's aligning with the ANC figure, but this again is to, I suppose, in recognition of the benefits organic farming have for ecosystem services also, regardless of the stocking rate. So I think that might be particularly beneficial for more extensive farmers, and maybe those especially on marginal land. So hopefully these changes will increase the number of people coming on board, and this will be allied with an increased level of advisory support for farmers, and certainly through Teagasc have certainly increased their supports for organics, and they're trying to, they are really doing a good job, I think, in terms of trying to spread the news around their own advisors and to farmers through that. There is an increase. The funding to support this year came about as an increase of €5 million in the budget. And we, if all things fall right, this additional funding could facilitate an additional 50,000 hectares. So on top of the 90,000, I mean, that's more than a 50% increase in the land area. So it would be a great start in advance of the CAP, the new organic scheme under the next round of the RDP. So I am confident that the funding will be sufficient to allow all eligible applicants to be accepted onto the organic farming scheme. And as I said at the start, I'd urge you to listen to these webinars, to visit farm demonstration farm walks that Teagasc are putting on, and to just reach out to existing organic farmers just to ask them whatever questions you need, and most would be more than too happy to share their knowledge with you. So look, thank you. I won't waste any more of your precious time this morning. I'm going to thank you and Teagasc for organising the meeting. I hope you can get answers to your questions, and certainly, if there's any further queries, do not hesitate to contact your local Teagasc advisor or my own department's organic division at Johnstown Castle for more information. Obviously, the organic certification bodies are there as another outlet for queries as well. So there's a lot of information out there. Make sure and access it. And I'm going to pass you back now to Seamus Barron from my own department, and then to Joe and Marianne, and leave you in all their capable hands. So thank you very much.
Okay, so look at thank you very much, and Minister Hackett for the background, and to Teagasc for organising the webinar. As the Minister said, it's the first of a series of webinars and the demonstration meetings, and it's a great opportunity for farmers to hear about be it what organics is about, what the opportunities are, and I suppose specifically what my remit is to talk about the scheme, the organic farming scheme. So I'm based in the department's organic division in Johnstown Castle in Wexford. So before going into the scheme, I might just give, it's no harm just to give a quick overview as to what is going on in organic production here. In 2020, we had 74,000 hectares of agricultural land in organic production. The scheme opened up last year. We brought in about 300 applicants, participants into the scheme, and the area increased to 90,000 hectares. So, it was a successful reopening of the scheme. And in terms of our organic operators, there's a little under 2,500 organic operators, of which there's a little under 2,000 organic farmers. And the rest, the difference between the farmers and the operators, the rest of them are processors, retailers, wholesalers, importers, and so on. And they're all certified with an organic control body. And of these, we have a little over 1,700 participating in the organic farming scheme. And currently, of the organic land, of the 90,000 hectares organic land, 90% of it is converted. It's in fully converted phase, and 10% is in conversion. So as I say, we've 90,000 hectares, and that's 2% of the agricultural area. And to put that into some kind of context, we're way below the European average here. The European average should be a little under 10%, probably in around 9%. The countries with the highest rate would be the likes of Austria, Estonia. They're on about 10%. And with the lowest participation is Malta, which is about 1%. So look, as I say, we're coming in at 2%, so we're way under the average. And I suppose that highlights the opportunity here for us to grow the sector, and there's serious investment taking place to grow the sector over the next few years. And we'll be giving you a bit more information on that as we go along. And maybe just to put it into context, for Austin, down in your area, down in Waterford, there's 31 organic certified operators. And I was looking up the stats. There's 1% of agricultural land in Waterford under organics. So, and so I suppose we just did the context then is to show what the opportunities are there to grow the sector. Then if we look at the breakdown of the enterprises on the farm, on these organic farms, and they're mixed farms, okay, a lot of them will have, maybe 2 or 3 enterprises. So cattle is the number one. There's little under 1,400 farms have cattle enterprises. Sheep next, horticultural, cereals, poultry, and dairy. And in particular, it's the last 4 enterprises that there's a major demand, and we'll see that reflected in the ranking and selection. Now, people say that there's oversupply of cattle and sheep, but there's a really good premium being paid for beef, organic beef and lamb. I was talking to good herdsmen, and they gave me some figures there. They're currently paying $5.35 for organic beef. Next week it'll be $5.40. In April they'll be paying $5.60. So, it's a good premium price, and the word coming back from the processor, from the likes of good herdsmen, they're looking for cattle. Okay, and likewise with lamb, ICM in Camolan is given a 15% for lamb over the base price. Okay, and we see there the Irish organics market was worth 189 million. But there's an opportunity to grow that, in particular in the context of the figure that the Minister gave us there for the European average. Okay, so maybe just to move on a small bit, the support being provided by the Department of Agriculture includes the Organic Farm Scheme. That's what I'm going to discuss this morning. But it's no harm also to mention another couple of schemes, which is the TAM scheme, AUKUS, whereby capital grant aid is available for capital investments. And we also have the OPIC, which is the Organic Processing Investment Grant Scheme, which is an off-farm investment. So there's significant support being given to processors here to obviously develop their business and to develop the organic processing sector. So if we look at the AUKUS, which is the Organic Capital Investment Scheme, it's a measure under TAMS 2. So grant aid is available for investment in buildings and machinery. It's paid at a rate of 40% grant aid up to a maximum of 80,000. And for young farmers, there's a rate of 60%. And there's a wide range of items eligible for investment or for grant aid under the scheme. And there's all the information is available in the terms and conditions, and that's available on the department's website, or obviously Teagasc will be able to give you that. So if we look at the next cap, which runs from 2023 to 2027, there's a budget here in Ireland of 256 million made available under the next RDP, which is a massive increase on the current. It's a fivefold increase on the budget under the current RDP, which began in 2014. And as the Minister said, the target is to bring in 7.5% of agricultural land, utilisable agricultural area, into organics by December of 2027. And that's written into our CAP strategic plan that has been submitted to the Commission. That 7.5% equates to 335,000 hectares. So in effect, we need to be bringing in about 50,000 hectares per year, every year from 2022 to 2027 to meet this 7.5%. And the budget there, it's a very attractive budget there, and that's obviously to support the ambitious targets. So if we come back to what we're talking about here today, the OFS of 2022, which has opened, there's a budget of 21 million allocated. And as the Minister has said, there's a 5 million, a very significant increase for the 2020 on 2021 of 5 million. So that'll be sufficient there to take in, depending on the farm size, maybe whatever, 500, 600, 700 new applications. And in that context, we don't see that ranking and selection will come into play. Okay, so the changes to the scheme in 22, there's an amendment to the ranking and selection. I'll talk about that in a section. As the Minister has said, there's a reduction in the stocking rate from 0.5 of a livestock unit to 0.15 of a livestock unit per hectare. So that's the equivalent of a reduction from a half suckler cow per hectare to a 1 ewe per hectare. Okay, so that makes it easier for applicants to get in. We estimate that opens up in the region of an extra 1 million hectares of land to organics. And also, as the Minister said, the ceiling for the higher rate of payment has been increased from 60 to 70 hectares, facilitating be it the growing farm area. So eligibility, some eligibility aspects there. In order to be eligible, you must be an active farmer. You must be registered with and be approved by an OCB, an organic control body. Register with the Department of Agricultural Organic Division, and the OCBs give us that data. Once a farmer registers with the OCB, the OCBs automatically send the information on to us. So applicants must have an organic license at the date of submission of the OFS application. Must declare all lands in the applicant's name on the BPS system. The completion of the FETAC Level 5 course in organic farming is required, and the certificate has to be uploaded by the 1st of November. So there's plenty of time to do the course, and Teagasc and NOTS are running courses there ongoing. So there's plenty of time to do the course and sufficient time to upload the certificate onto the system. So in terms of the minimum area, it's 3 hectares for agricultural land, 1 hectare for horticulture, and you must achieve a minimum of 25 marks, which is very easy to achieve. So ranking and selection, it's all the information is in the OFS terms and conditions. Is available on the department's website or available from Teagasc. Prioritization is given to young farmers. It's given to sectors in demand, which I referenced a little earlier, which is horticulture, tillage, and dairy enterprises. Prioritization is given to total lands converted versus partial conversion. For mixed farms, farms that are growing, be it some combi crops or maybe some grain for feeding back, and have good rotations in operations. For larger organic areas, and lastly, for the stocking rate. But in a nutshell, as it stands right now, we don't anticipate that ranking and selection will come into play, because of the attractive funding made available. So when we look at the rates, so the horticultural rates are for in conversion and is 300 per hectare, and full organic status is 200 per hectare, and that's up to 6 hectares, and we need a minimum of 1 hectare of horticultural land, as I mentioned, and there's reduced rates above the 6 hectares, as we see there, from 6 to 70 hectares. For tillage, it's the minimum area for claiming the tillage payment is 6 hectares of tillage, and the rate is 260 per hectare for in conversion up to 20 hectares, and 170 per hectare for full organic status, and reduced rates from there on. And then for all others, and in effect, all others is grassland. Okay, so the payment is 220 per hectare for more than 3 hectares and up to 70 hectares, and 170 per hectare for full organic status. So someone coming in with the 70 hectares of in conversion land in 2022. There's opportunity for a very attractive payment here of 15,400. Okay, so it's a very significant payment. I suppose the context would be the gloss payment. The ceiling on the gloss payment was 5,000. So there we go. There's also an additional red clover optional payment of €30 per hectare for up to 10 hectares. Maybe some important dates. The scheme opened on the 9th of February. It closes on the 8th of April. And an important date is the BPS closing date is the 16th of May, because lands have to be declared on the BPS, organic lands have to be declared on the BPS system. A lot of farmers use their advisor, be it Teagasc advisor or consultant, to help with the planning process and with the application process, but it is optional. It's not compulsory that an advisor has to submit an application, and it's an online application only, and it's made on ag food. So the organic, I made mention to being certified with the organic control bodies. The 2 relevant organic control bodies are IOA, based in Athlone, and Organic Trust, based in Naas. The last one is Global Trust certification, and it certifies aquaculture only, and organic aquaculture is a major industry here, in particular finfish, organic salmon. But for people interested in talking to an OCB, it's the first 2 mentioned bodies, IOA or OT, which should be contacted. So the approval process, as I made mention, the BPS closing date is the 16th of May. The ranking and selection, if it is required, will commence once the BPS is finalised. OFS approvals will issue in September, and the advance payment, the first payment, takes place in November. So that's about all I have to say. Contact information for the department is given here, and we'd encourage anyone who has any questions or queries, obviously, to make contact with us. Okay, thank you. So I'll hand you back to Austin here now. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, thanks, Seamus. And sure, looked at some very interesting figures there across the country, and the big headline one there really being that potentially 50,000 hectares is required going forward each year to kind of meet our 7.5% target. So it's an ambitious target, and look, we have a lot of people here on the call today who are potentially thinking about it and talking about it. Marianne, I know you have just maybe a survey to bring through there. We'd just like to get people's opinions and thoughts on where their thinking is in relation to organic farming at this moment. Marianne, I'll let you bring it in there.
Okay. I'm actually not sure if that's working there now. The polling session is inactive, it's telling me.
Okay.
So maybe we'll continue there. I don't know what's gone wrong there. It was working fine earlier, Austin.
Okay.
There's actually a
come back to
question.
that, sure.
Yeah, we'll come back to it. There's a question after coming in here. If a farmer joins the organic farming scheme, could this rule them out of future department schemes similar to Reaper Gloss due to double funding issues? I suppose that has been a concern over the last period. Is there any proposed change on that, Seamus or Minister?
Yeah, so we are looking at the synergy opportunities between the new AECM, which will come into play in 2023, and the new OFS. So that is something that's very much on our agenda, because we are aware it is an issue, and that under the current OFS, OFS participants are precluded from certain GLOS actions. There is a double funding issue, and you know we can't ignore the double funding constraints, so to speak. But in a nutshell, we're aware of it, and we're looking at developing synergies and to maximise the opportunities there between the new OFS and the new AECM, and that work is ongoing.
Okay. Oh, we have it here now. It is after coming up, Marianne.
Oh, is it?
After launching it there.
Here after
You
launching
launched it. Thanks, someone. Yeah, I don't know why that wouldn't work for me.
That's great. So, lads, we just have the questions there. So, what are your main reasons for considering organic farming? And there are a number of options there if as you scroll down. So, I suppose to start with, is it maybe the benefit to the environment, sustainable farming going forward? That's the, you know, the green image is a huge one that's been branded about at the moment. Improving soil health, more profitable farming system. Is it about improving the quality of food? You know, the addition of obviously the organic farming scheme payments is a help. You know, the niche market outlets, not much different to how I'm farming now. So you can see some of the results are coming in there now. So keep your answers flowing through. Just if you can add to that survey, it'd be great to give us a bit of feedback and give us an idea of your thoughts as to why you're maybe considering it. And if you've answered question 1, you can follow down then to question 2. What are your main concerns about converting? And they are many, and Joe, who will be speaking next, will probably help us maybe explain through those changes, and you know, how do you, is it an option for you? How do you incorporate the likes of, you know, grass or grass, clover into your grassland system at the moment? You know, do you have a good source of manure or slurry on the farm to keep the fertility kind of moving and forward? You know, what's your current stocking rate? So now we have 17 answered in number 1 already, and we've 18 answered in question 1. So we can leave it open there just for another moment, just to get your thoughts and views. But I suppose the key one there coming out, Marianne, is the benefit to the environment and sustainable farming coming forward, and more profitable farming system are the two that are coming in strong for the reasons for considering to organic farming.
Very good. There was another question. If you have availed of TAMS grants already, does that impact your ability to apply for the organic capital investment TAMS funding? So is the ceiling?
Yeah. So under the current RDP, which runs is extended to December 22, the ceiling is that ceiling of 80,000. But there's a new RDP coming into play in 2023, so it'll be a clean sheet again. Okay, so any claims that were submitted under the current RDP will not be relevant. Okay, so you'll be starting with a new investments ceiling.
Okay. And I suppose it's important to say that under the organic TAMS, there is a lot extra available for grant aid. You know, even machinery, I just kind of have it here in front of me, the likes of a straw chopper, a topper, a mower, a hay bob, you know, a loader, dung fork, dung spreaders. So there is significant extras on the organic TAMs that wouldn't be available for non-organic farmers. Isn't that right, Seamus? Yeah.
That is right. There's a very attractive menu of investments. There's pages and pages of eligible investments on the terms and conditions. I'm just looking at here. It's under Annex C of the terms and conditions. So it's well worthwhile people looking, just getting their hands on the terms and conditions and looking at the opportunities that are there.
Yeah.
I see there's a question come in about do existing OFS scheme applicants have to apply for the scheme? No, unless you're bringing in new land. Okay.
Sorry, Seamus, could you just clarify? It's on the new land coming in. It can be a little bit confusing for people. We can bring in new land. So for an existing farmer that has been in organic for the last number of years, if they have new land coming in, and if they're under the 70 hectare limit overall, do they get in conversion the high rate payment on that?
So new land coming in, if it's newly converted land, they will get the in conversion payment. In terms of bringing in, coming back to the question, there's a rollover of existing participants, OFS participants. They will have received communication from the department asking if they wish to roll over their OFS into 2022. So they don't have to do anything if they have replied to that. Now, if someone wants to bring in new land for these existing people, if they want to bring in new land, it would be a new contract. You can only bring in new land in years 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the scheme. So if these are long-running OFS participants that are in the scheme a long time, and if they have new land to come in, it would be a case of submitting a new application for the new land. Okay. And once the new scheme comes in 2023 under the new RDP, we'd look to consolidate in such a scenario both applications into one application in 2023. So that would be in the situation where you had an existing applicant who's bringing in new land in 2022 under a new contract, and we'd look to consolidate all them into one scheme in 2023. But that's looking forward there. Okay.
Okay.
So in a nutshell, you can only bring in new land in 1, 2, 3, and 4 of an original contract. Okay. That's okay. Great.
That's great.
Yeah.
What is the main benefit of the new cap to existing organic farmers?
Okay.
So we don't have the fine detail of the new cap yet, maybe.
It is a very good question. So look at the CSP, the CAP strategic plan has been submitted to the Commission. Discussions are ongoing with the Commission. It hasn't been finalised by the Commission at this point in time. So that's working hand. We are looking at the new scheme for 2023. The payment rates for 2022, they're the same as the payment rates that have been running for the last number of years, okay, under the RDP, which started in 2014. So we will be looking at amended payment rates for 2023 to 2027. Again, under the OFS I'm referring to, but that is work in hand, and it hasn't been finalised yet. On the other side of it, then there'll be a new AECM. There's a lot of work has taken place on the new AECM, which will be the new gloss. Okay, and we're looking to, as I made reference to, we're looking to develop synergies between the new OFS and AECM. Okay. So it's work in progress.
Okay, that's fine. And this maybe finally then, I suppose it's more of a comment than anything else. A lot of demand for organic fruit and vegetables. Many horticulture producers will be working on a small base, for example, the 1 hectare with high levels of labour. This organic scheme on an area-based payment is not very supportive to encourage these producers, I suppose, just because their area is small. Is there a better way to support these producers based on output or employees rather than on the hectare basis? Maybe that's something the Minister might be able to consider for future.
So I might just come in.
Yeah.
So the support, again, we're looking at the payment rates for 2023 on. Permitted support is on the basis of additional cost and income forgone. We are aware about the issue with horticulture here in particular, and I agree with the points that are made here in that comment. So we are reviewing, as part of the overall OFS review process, we are reviewing the horticultural rates, but we're not in a position to state what the new rates will be yet at this point in time.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Marianne, can you see the poll results there? Do you want to share them?
I don't know. I don't know what's gone wrong. I can't.
I might just share them there if everybody can see them. Can you bring them up there now?
Yeah, they're up there now, Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So look, Joe, the question there we had: what are the main reasons for people considering changing to organic farming? So there's kind of two overwhelming responses there. People saw the benefit to the environment and looked at it as a sustainable farming system going forward, and I suppose a more profitable farming system is a key one going forward too. And given the way fertilizer prices have gone, 61% of participants said that as an option. Again, improved soil health, 44% came through and said that was a reason why. The improvement in the quality of food. The organic farming system payments, of course, are an additional, but it's not maybe people's main reason why they're going at it. And again, about 1/5 said maybe niche markets and outlets. So it's a very strong poll and gives us a great indication, and maybe, I suppose, reinforces people's point of view then as to why they're maybe making a change, and seeing that it's the reason why other people are thinking about the change too. So if we look at the second question then, what are your main concerns about converting to organics? And this is probably where Joe will address those concerns in his presentation, but I suppose a big one there is the changing to your farming system. What will that involve, across maybe your current housing system, the stock, the grassland management that you currently have. But I suppose there's the other one there came in at 20% increased costs on the farm converting sheds. Of course, having the 50% straw bedding is a huge one in the organic farm system. And again, I suppose another one came up there, the secure markets for your organic producer. It's one probably that Joe will be touching on, the gains that have been made, but also as Seamus would have mentioned, the 15% premium on lamb price and the possibility of looking at 560 for cattle in the factory price. Look, it's a nice premium to have, and you'd like to see it, heading north of that going forward. So. Thanks for your answers on that, folks. And look, we'll take those on board and use those for further analysis of our meetings going forward. So, Joe, I might maybe just ask you then to share your screen and take your presentation off there. Thanks very much, Joe.
Can you see that, Austin?
Yep, that's up. Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Austin. Okay, so I'm just kind of going to go through maybe what's happening, what happens inside the farm gate and the thought process maybe that farmers considering organics maybe need to look at. So I suppose if I just start on the tillage, because in the southeast where we are today, there's a strong presence of tillage in your neck of the woods. So I suppose if we look at, first of all, tillage farmers, what are the considerations for anyone thinking of getting into organics? And I suppose maybe I'll go back a step in that I would often say that there's two things have to happen. You have to convert the farmer and you have to convert the farm. And we can convert any farm in the country to organics, but maybe we can't convert every farmer in the country to organics. And that's the first part that needs to be converted, is the farmer. And if you, I suppose really what the thought process I would be saying is if you've been the kind of farmer that has been planting a few trees, sowing a bit of clover, sowing multi-species, been working a bit closer in nature with the last number of years, you're kind of demonstrating that you have your frame of mind is kind of in tune with organic systems, and that you'd working with nature would come naturally to you. So then maybe organics would be a good fit to you. On the other hand, if you're a heavy user of fertilizers and sprays, then maybe it's a big jump to jump across, and maybe you may have to look at weaning off or easing off a bit before making that sudden jump. So it's down to mind frame as much as anything else as to whether organics is a suitable fit for you. But if we assume you've made the decision you think you can work with, these are the kind of questions you need to ask yourself as a tillage farmer, firstly. So can you incorporate grass or clover break into the rotation? So we can't use our chemical nitrogen anymore in organics, so we have to get it somewhere else. And there we breathe in a 79% nitrogen, like, so it's there all around us, nitrogen, only we have to try to get it out of the atmosphere. And clover and any other leguminous crops are fantastic at pulling it out of the air and making it available to the plants. So can you see yourself making use of clover on your farm to feed your subsequent tillage crop? The other big question for tillage farmers then is, so if the clover is giving you your nitrogen, where's your P and K going to come from? Because if you're selling a crop out the gate, you are selling P and K out the gate with it. So where's that replacement P and K going to come from? So have you a source of farmyard manure? Can you get slurry from a neighbouring farm? Can you get dairy sludge? What manures are available in your locality that you can get access to easily that will help replenish the P and K? Maybe you're in a mixed farming system where you have your own livestock on the farm and some portion of the farm is under tillage, and that works very well in organics, where the manure from the cattle is feeding the tillage crop, and the straw and the grain from the tillage crop is feeding the cattle. So they work very well together. And then the third point I've down there is, can you see yourself farming without pesticides and chemical fertilizers? So the two biggest tools that tillage farmers have available to them to control what way their crop grows in conventional setting is their fertilizers and their sprays. And in organics, you no longer have that crutch to lean on. So you have to work a bit closer with natural methods, as we said, the clover above, using the IPM kind of tools. And can you see yourself working without those two tools available to you? So they're the questions a tillage farmer needs to ask themselves before considering organics. So then if we look at the animal system, so the dairy, the beef, the sheep, these are probably more the questions that we should be asking. So the first thing Austin touched on, the dairy stocking rate. So is your stocking rate currently below 2 livestock units per hectare? And if not, are you willing to bring it down? And then even tying into that, land quality comes into it, and I'll touch on that in a while there. But like, if you're on good quality land, you can grow clover, you can grow multi-species swards, you can grow red clover, you can grow whole crop silage. Then you can look at stocking at nearer to 2 livestock units per hectare. But if you're on marginal land or heavy clear type lands, then you're probably looking at stocking at nearer to 1 livestock unit per hectare, and maybe matching your stocking rate to what the farm can naturally grow. So there is kind of two almost different systems within organics, depending on the land type you're on. In one case, you can maybe put in crops that can grow more, and in the other situation, you're matching your stocking rate to what the farm can naturally grow. So it's a case of which one of those systems suits you best. The other one then is, and it's a big one for beef farmers in particular and sheep farmers, can your animal housing be modified to incorporate a bedded lying area? And my next slide kind of maybe goes into that in more detail, because it is one of the biggest barriers that puts off beef farmers in particular is the housing requirements. And then it's the same as the tillage farmers. The third point here, do you already use little or no levels of fertilizers? We all know what has happened to the price of fertilizer this year. So like, maybe you're already using very little amounts, and maybe it wouldn't take an awful lot to make that final jump to go organic. And if you are a low user of fertilizer, maybe it's the natural next step for you to take is to make the jump across into organics. So again, look, they're the questions we would be suggesting dry stock and cattle farmers and sheep farmers be asking themselves. Just a bit on the housing, because as I said, it comes up typically. So one of the requirements in organics is that 50% of the floor area has to be straw bedded, has to be solid floor area, and bedded with a suitable material. So this is your typical organic house where you have your slat at the front where the cattle come out to eat, and they go back to lie down on a straw bedded area like that. This is a farm we wrote last week, and he just added, he had a lie back, but it wasn't that big, so he added about 6 feet onto the back of the shed there, so you can see that. And it's a very simple system where this gate here is the exact size of a bay, and he can swing this across, so he can clean out his straw bedded area and move the cattle out here into slats while he's doing it. So yes, it's going to be an extra expenditure if you don't already have it, but it doesn't have to be overly elaborate. As you can see, that's a fairly straightforward, simple setup. But that is the type of change you would have to make to your housing requirement to make it suitable for organics. And just to kind of follow on from that, these are the space requirements that you need when in organics. So this is the total indoor area, the net indoor area available to organics. So this includes both the slatted area and the straw bedded area. It's the total internal area. So I suppose like there is the different areas, but this is probably the easiest way of remembering it is the 1 square meter per 100 kilos as a rough guide. It's not exactly tying in with these, but it's a good rough guide to have in your head, that if you have a 500 kilo bullock, that bullock needs 5 meters squared inside in the shed. Of that 5 meters squared, half it can be slatted, and the other half has to be minimum of the other half has to be straw bedded. So they're the rules as regards the straw bedding, because it is a big issue, and it's the same in sheep. If you have a 100% slatted shed in sheep housing, you have to look at how can you incorporate a straw bedded lie back into that shed. Just the veterinary, it's the other one. The housing and the veterinary are the two questions that keep coming up all the time. So I suppose the veterinary issues, look, is one of the core principles of organics is that the welfare of the animal comes pretty much ahead of everything else. So if an animal needs a treatment for a particular ailment, and the vet says that he or she needs that treatment, then that animal gets that treatment, because we don't want animals suffering in organics. It's what happens before and what happens afterwards is where it changes. So before, the vet has to prescribe everything, and the vet has to give the okay for any product to be used. What happens afterwards is, you see there is the withdrawal period is twice the legal withdrawal. So you double the withdrawal period. The other thing with the veterinary side of things is that animals are only allowed a certain number of courses of treatments within a 12-month period. So animals for meat consumption here, for example, you'll see they're allowed 1 course of antibiotics within a 12-month period. Animals for breeding, so your suckler cows, your dairy cows, or your ewes, they're allowed 2 courses of antibiotics within a 12-month period. And in the case of dairy mastitis, again, you're allowed 2 courses. So I think there is a perception out there that we're allowed no treatments whatsoever in organics. That's not the case. It's just what happens before and afterwards is where the changes. So just to clarify that point. And I suppose this is the other one, that if they're exceeded, then that animal loses its organic status, and it either re-undergoes the conversion period, or it leaves the farm, or would be the choices. So then the other factor to obviously consider when thinking of organics is the profitability side of it. And there are a number of factors that are going to impact that. And I mentioned one of them earlier there is the land quality. Obviously, better quality opens more options for you in terms of the range of crops you can grow. Maybe you can become self-sufficient in grain and straw. Maybe you can grow red clover silage on good quality land. And vice versa, then if you're on poorer quality land, maybe you just have to stock to what the farm can naturally hold. So it does dictate the system to a certain degree, the land quality you're on. But equally, it can be profitable on both good land and heavier type lands. Organics is just you're matching the stock rate to suit. The management and skills, there is a higher skill level involved in organics, because we no longer have the easy fix of the fertilizers or the sprays. We have to work with nature, which involves kind of maybe upskilling in certain areas. And learning to work with the soil and work with the nature. One of the core principles of organics is that we're not feeding the plant anymore, we're feeding the soil, and we're leaving the soil look after the plant then. So it's a different kind of frame of thought, and there probably are different skills required to get to that situation. Access to markets, I'll cover that in the next slide, but in the southeast you're in a kind of a fortunate position in that you have a lot of the markets are quite near you. Access and scheme support is critical, because you're being compensated for possibly having to reduce the stocking rate or reduce output in those initial years. And Seamus outlined the supports that are available. So it's critical that you avail of those supports if you convert into organics. And the producer attitude then is also important. In that, can they see themselves getting a premium? Will they actively seek out that premium for their product when they go into organics? And if you do, it's there to be got if you go look for it. So on the market side of things, what are the options? So you have the processors are the number one. So as I say, in the Southeast, you're quite lucky. If we look at the tillage side of things, you have Flavins and Bort Malt, albeit they're both kind of full at the moment, but there are other tillage outlets appearing all the time. We have there's Whites in Armagh looking for 8,000 tonnes of organic oats at the moment. There's Irish Organic Feeds below in Cork are looking for 3,000 tonnes of organic beans. All the millers are looking for organic barley and wheat all the time, and maybe to a lesser extent oats. So the more organic cattle we have in the country, the more demand there is for organic feed. So there is huge demand there. We're still importing 50% of the ingredients that go into our cattle feed, for example. So there is opportunities in the tillage side of things. On the beef side of things, you have Slaney Meats in Wexford on your doorstep. You have Good Herdsman and Tipperary isn't too far away from you either. They're the two main processors on the beef side of things that are actively looking for cattle and finding it hard to actually get organic cattle at the moment. You have Irish Country Meats in Camolan for the lamb, again in Wexford. So they're the main processor of lamb in the country. And again, they're on your doorstep. So the logistics of getting lamb to them should be fairly straightforward for people in the Southeast. In the dairy side of things, you probably have three options in the Southeast. You have the Little Milk Company, you have the Village Dairy in Carlow, and you have Glenisk. All would have suppliers in the southeastern area. So of all areas in the country, I would say the Southeast is probably the best positioned in terms of markets and access to markets across all the categories. The other options then is the direct sales. So the horticulture, there's the picture beside it, is the best example of that, where the vegetables in the box schemes, which a lot of operators, and we've seen the demand for organic vegetables is increasing at a fairly significant rate every year. So there is huge opportunities for selling direct to the customers. With people selling beef in a box, selling lamb direct to the consumer. We have people putting in vending machines for milk. So there are numerous ways of selling direct to the customers through farmers markets. So it's about, before you go in, just you need to have that thought to yourself: where am I going to sell my produce? Am I going to go to the processor, or am I going to look at direct sales? And one of the key benefits of the direct sales is you get to keep more of that price of that product for yourself. So there is huge opportunities there as well. So, but it does involve a bit of thought and a bit of market research as well before you dip into that route. The other organic farmers, as we said, in particular with the tillage side of things, there's all the beef farmers that are finishing are going to need a source of feed. So maybe you could be growing red clover silage, whole crop silage or grain, and doing a trade with them and maybe getting some cattle slurry or farmyard manure in return. So there is huge opportunities for farmers to work with each other. And then we've farmer-led organizations. So I suppose one of the best examples of that is probably the Little Milk Company, where a group of suppliers came together and are processing their milk into cheese, and it's been exported across Europe and to America now at the moment. And it's a great success story of how a group of farmers coming together with and combining their efforts can access new markets, and there's probably opportunities there for more people to do similar. So I suppose the final step then, I suppose, if you have your kind of mind made up that it's for you, where are you going to find more information as to what you actually need to convert your farm? Because I've only touched on it briefly here, but we've a series of farm walks coming up. The first one starts in the Burden and Clare on the 2nd of March, and they run through to the 19th of July. There's 12 walks. The certification bodies also have a series of walks happening over the next number of weeks. So in all, there's about 20 walks happening between here and the middle of July. So there has to be a couple of them there that are near enough to you that you should be able to access and find out a bit more. I would say that everyone should familiarize themselves with the organic standards. If you just Google organic standards, they'll come up. It's a 400-page document, but there's an index at the front of it that is very detailed, so you can pick out the chapters that are specific to you and have a closer look at what the actual detailed rules are involved. And the other one is talk to organic farmers. You can't be talking to someone that has been there and done that, and you'll find out more from them than you will anywhere else. And the organic farmers, from my experience, are a very open bunch and very willing to talk to people and share their experiences. So find out who's the organic farm in your area and talk to them. And finally, that's just an overview of the walks that are coming up there over the next number of months. So there's huge source of information in these walks. So I would encourage everyone to try get along to one or two of these if you could. So Austin, that's
okay,
me.
great, Joe. Thanks very much. We've just a couple of questions there, Marianne, coming in the side, just from Francis there. He has a mixed horse and sheep enterprise. Are horses taken into account for stocking rates? Seamus, you might comment on that.
Yeah, the OFS terms and conditions, page 20, give the categories of livestock that are eligible there for consideration for the stocking rate. Horses aren't stated on it.
Philip then has a question then, just he's hill farming, considering converting to organic. Can you get hill commonage land included into the organic scheme?
Again, on that, commonage is not eligible for OFS payments, and the reason is that the difficulties in ensuring that the separation of organic and non-organic livestock on the commonage. Obviously, the commonage could have an organic farmer and it could have non-organic farmers, and also the difficulty in ensuring that there's no unauthorized products or substances being applied. So in a nutshell, it's not eligible.
Yeah. So he just gets it on his lowland.
He gets it on the lowland. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. So I maybe might just share with you finally just the final steps, just in relation to your approach to share screen. And there we go. Now, can you see that okay?
Yep.
Now, so I suppose it's just the steps to follow and how to apply for the organic scheme for this year in 2022.
You're just not in slideshow mode there, Austin.
Okay, 1 second now. I should come up now. How is that?
You're gone to presenter mode now again, sorry. Yeah, there you are.
Okay, perfect, thanks. So I suppose, look, as Seamus would have mentioned there, it's reopened on the 9th last week by the Minister, and the closing date is the 8th. There's a budget roughly of 5 million, and there's a fund there effectively for about 1,000 farmers effectively. So what steps do you do and do you take to begin the process of conversion? So the department have approved 2 authorities, 2 organic certificated bodies, the Irish Organic Association and the Organic Trust. So if you have a camera on your phone or take down their details there, the Irish Organic Association are based in Athlone, and their number is 090 643 3680. And they have their website address there. It's the IrishOrganicAssociation.ie. And you have the Organic Trust then based in Naas, County Kildare, and their number is 045 88 2377. And the website is theorganictrust.ie. So you contact those 2 bodies, and primarily what they do then is they'll send you out an information pack. And the information pack will contain a lot of this in terms of just the detail of what your conversion plan will be. The animal health plan will be apparently done in relation with your vet in terms of what the health status currently of the herd, the stock you have, and the details of your health plan going forward in an organic situation. The soil results, if you have them available to you, recently taken or taken the last number of years. A farmyard sketch to give the body an idea as to the farm layout, and the farm map then just giving the detail of the land that you're farming, either next to the farmyard or maybe it might be blocks away. The ORG1 form, and primarily is a form detailing, it's the application to the department effectively detailing your full name, address details, herd number, land type, stock, sheds available on the farm and so forth. And the other organic conversion body forms are available there. Basically, they're all the different forms associated with organic farming, such as dehorning cattle or castration and so forth, tillage application, tillage rotation, and so forth. So those are kind of in the information pack that you'll get out, and they have to be supplied in your application back to the certified body. So to follow on from that then, having registered as an organic farmer with the organic body, you apply then to the department to join the organic farming scheme. And we primarily help our clients with that. And on the ag food system, we apply for the organic farming scheme on behalf of the client to put forward an application. And the deadline for that is the 8th of April coming. So by the time you apply to the Organic Trust or the Irish Organic Association, get your information pack out, supply the information back to them, get registered, and the deadline will be upon us quite quick. So we'd encourage people to get onto the organic bodies as soon as possible to get their information packs out. The third part of it then would be that as part of this year's single farm payment, you would have to put in under each parcel their parcel use. So you'd be in conversion on organic parcels on your basic payment scheme application this year, and that has to be applied by the 16th of May this year. Further to that then, pending that you've been approved by the department, you have to complete a 25-hour training course that Teagasc would run, a number of bodies run in relation to the organic farming principles that Joe would have mentioned there in the booklet, and that has to be completed then by the 1st of November this year. So I suppose there's a lot of I suppose criteria required, but it's very manageable, and we have a booklet out there just giving information on a step-by-step guide to conversion. So if you call our office or your local advisor, we can provide you with that. But the key one, I suppose, is the details of the two organic associations, and to contact them then in relation to any questions or queries you may have. Have we any further questions there coming through, Marianne? You're just on mute there. So.
No, there's none coming through there at the minute. So if anybody has anything there, type it into the chat. I was just going to ask, maybe it's one for Seamus again. So if the application is submitted for the organic farming scheme, say in the middle of March, when does the farmer need to start his organic process? Just on the timeline there, do you wait until you're approved, or is it kind of coming straight away?
Yeah, that Marianne, that'll be coming straight away. So once the application process is started, the farmer must commence farming under the organic requirements.
Okay. And I suppose maybe with the budget that's there, I suppose it is looking positive that despite that you mightn't be approved in it officially, I suppose the likelihood of everybody getting approved once you reach the minimum 25 marks on the ranking selection should be quite, a good indicator that that approval will be on the way, I suppose, with the budget.
Definitely, Marianne, that we brought in 300 participants last year. So look, the indications are there's plenty of money there for everyone to get in. Yeah.
The commonage question is coming up again, Seamus. I think you kind of addressed it. I'm not sure if it's the same question or somebody else, but you might just address it again. Hill farming, considering converting, can you get hill commonage land included?
So for the OFS payment,
yes.
Commonage is not eligible for OFS payment. The lowland is eligible.
Okay, yeah. And then a young trained farmer that recently has their green cert and coming on board to an existing organic farm, would they need to do the 25-hour QQI course? I think it's an existing farm, so they possibly don't if the farm is already organic. Would that be correct?
Yeah, it looks as if it's an existing farm. So it's not a new contract. So there's no issue there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Payments, presume, are pro rata for this year. Is it from the application date or the approval date, which would be in September, that you'd get paid? So what will 2022's payment rate? Will it be on the? Would you be given a full year payment for your 50 hectares?
Yeah, no, that'll be pro rata from application.
So from application or approval date?
The application.
Application, okay. Yeah. So it could be a 7-month pro rata payment,
yeah.
or so okie doke. That's all the questions there for the minute. So Joe or Austin, anything to add?
I suppose what Austin said there is crucial, you know, just act in time. There's a nice bit to be done. There is a lot of walks coming up. I would say try get to one. The Teagasc website, if you just put in Teagasc Organics into Google, or if you put Teagasc Organic Events into Google, it lists this webinar and all other webinars, and we have a national webinar happening next week. All the walks are in there as well. And it's a great way, I think, of people getting a bit of extra information to inform themselves as to what is needed, and an awful lot. Like, there's such a variety of systems across the enterprises and even within enterprises in organics. It's very hard to give a one-size-fits-all advice. So there is a kind of an onus on a lot of people to go in and do a bit of fact finding themselves, and that's where the farm walks, I think, are very, very useful.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Joe. I think while we're here to help as well, and we'll do our best. So any queries, you know, can come to myself and Austin and the other maybe organic contact advisors in different counties, if you're from a different county, but definitely to talk to the farmers that are organic. I just think you learn a huge amount from them, and going to those farm walks are just a mindful of information, really, you know. So and I think it's a small sector. It's the networking is crucial, because for sales of goods and farm to farm sales of crops into beef and sheep farmers for feed, all of those networks are really important, more so than in conventional farming. So it's about getting out there and getting to know people.
So I see there's a question here, Marianne. Are backyard pigs included in the OFS? The OFS is an area-based scheme, so it pays on land area. Okay, so in that context, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
And homeopathic treatment of animals is permitted, as far as I know, anyway. Any comments, Joe? Are you or Seamus?
Yeah, it is allowed, and I would be aware of organic dairy farmers in particular would be availing of it. So
they would, for mastitis and things like that. They work well, from my experience, the homeopathic treatments. So
anecdotally, we'd be getting good feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, so lads, I think it's time to say
an hour. Yeah,
just gone over the hour. I'd say we'd like to thank everyone for coming on board today and for coming online and getting some more information, and maybe putting your mind at ease, or maybe getting you over the final hurdle in relation to maybe joining the organic scheme or planting that seed to maybe go ahead and look at it in the next couple of months. So I'd like to thank my colleagues, Marianne Mulhall, Joe Kelleher, Elaine Levy, and Anya Butler for coming on. Particular thanks to Seamus Byrne for giving us the department's run on the scheme and the updated features and I suppose the changes from last year to this year. And I suppose it's encouraging, you know, that the whole world seems to be on the green drive. And I think it's, you know, from the survey results, you could see there, it was very encouraging that, you know, most people's views or thoughts on it was for the benefit and the long-term health of, you know, their own health, the land health, and animal health. You know, it's a very important process, and it can take time for people to take that step. So I'd like to thank Seamus, the Minister, and all my Teagasc colleagues for their participation today, and to everyone for coming on the call. And you can give us a call for helping you with your application in the local Teagasc offices. But I would say get onto the organic bodies to start the process, and we'll be more than happy to help you with it. So take care, everyone, and thanks very much for joining us today.